Hello, welcome back to the Kerbal Space Flight Center. This is the KSP 1.6 Career, Episode 7. This episode is going to focus on placing Kerbals into space. We're going to launch our first Kerbal orbit around Kerbin, as well as we're going to launch another Kerbal to do a long duration mission to collect science, as well as to spend 72 hours in space. These are contracts that I picked up from the Mission Control Center, and I'm just collecting the contracts now. I also picked up another ionization contract to get some additional funds so I can continue to purchase parts that I've unlocked, as well as upgrade the KSC Center. And at this point, I'm just going through using the contracts window, just looking for other contracts that potentially I can do and double up to try to maximize my return. And we're going to head to the launch pad. One of the things I have done is I was using Patcher Pro Project Manager as a naming convention for my mission, my rockets. I have updated that, I removed that actually, and I'm now using the Kerbal launch numbering mod. I'm going to give that another try to see how that works. So I'm obviously using the project manager. You had to use brackets as its way of knowing which how to number your launches. So I'm just renaming my rockets here. But after I renamed it, we're going to head to the launch site and launch our first Kerbal into space. Okay, so we're at the launch pad. The other thing, mother mod, as you can see there, is TAC fuel balancer. I have installed that. But I wanted to try to see and how that could be useful in some of the missions, especially where balance control is required. So I'm just updating some of my toolbar buttons to add the new mods that were installed. But this is Jebediah on the launch pad. First Kerbal, he has a material bay for science, and we're all set. Staging is verified, and we'll go for launch. Alright, so everything is normal. I'm leaving the pad. We're just going to start our ascent to reach orbit. I got these two solid rocket boosters just to give us a little bit of speed off the launch pad. They're very efficient during the low altitude before switching over to the main stage. Separation was clean. Main engine has started, and this engine's going to take us to just about to orbit. Starting our gravity turn. Now this rocket has a lot of delta V, and it has plenty to get into low Kerbin orbit. I'm going to bend over, start increasing our horizontal velocity so that we can make orbit. At this point, I'm trying to pitch a little bit down. I don't want to really my height get any higher, apoapsis. I want to try to keep it roughly around steady. There's no need to really go into high Kerbin orbit. And I haven't use my material study because I don't, at this point, I don't remember whether I have collected material study in space on waiting. If I have, then I'll just use that as I come back down to Kerbin. All right, we got the main stage burnout, separation. And now I'm just gonna fast warp. Till my time to apoapsis is near 0, and now I'm going to continue my burn, circularize, and enter into orbit. Orbit event detected. All right, Jebediah, first Kerbal to orbit Kerbin. And at this point is when I realized that the material study, I must have already collected it during in space, so I'm going to just save that and pick that back up when I come back down. So I made orbit. Nothing really else to do here, so I'm just going to spin around, burn retrograde, and basically come back down and do a landing at Kerbin. At this point, I was just trying to see if I would come down on any landmass, trying to see if there was any additional science that I could pick up once Jebediah is on the surface. I'm going to speed up here until I reach that interface point. Meanwhile, I'm still going to be collecting whatever crew reports that I can collect as we orbit. Hey, we're almost there at the, all right, we just passed the 70 kilometer limit, which was the interface point for Kerbin. And now we're starting to enter the upper atmosphere. There I'm going to go ahead and stow the solar rays as well as collect the material-based science, close the doors, and get everything ready for the hot re-entry. And at this point, it's pretty routine. Here you can see I was trying to test out some of the different mods that I have. That was nav HUD, gives you some indicators, velocity indicators, the radio anti-normal indicators. Got quite a bit of fuel left, so I'm just going to use this fuel to kind of slow up my re-entry, to try to do somewhat of a controlled, to prevent excess heating. Okay, all the fuel is depleted, and I'm just going to separate the bottom half, and now I'm just going to point the heat shield, let it do its thing, and as we get into the thicker part of the atmosphere, it's going to slow us up, and then deploy the parachute. Right now, the Kerbal engineer is indicating that we are going to impact somewhere in the grassland, so I'm picking up some additional science on our way down. It looks like I'm going to be landing near this lake. 7,000 kilometers, 5,000 to the surface. Speed is under 200. Deployed my parachute. 1,000. Parachute fully deploys and is going to slow us up to a soft touchdown. And touchdown. Jebediah is going to get out. No science, but I'm going to collect the data. And we got contract complete, reach stable orbit, orbit return, so there's nothing left to do except for recover. And head back to the KSC. Alright, so the Mercury 1 was successful. Jebediah got some experience, picked up some ribbons, and we also got a little bit of science, so we're going to win. Let's see what we want. We can do miniaturization, fuel systems, heavy rocketry. Decided to go with heavy rocketry just for the larger engines, because later we're going to be launching multiple probes and larger vehicles, and we'll need those larger engines. We've got over 380 funds, so I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade the astronaut complex. Alright, so the next mission for the Mercury program is to pick up a contract to do some orbital science. So this time I'm going to be, as well as I'm going to stay in orbit for 72 hours. And so this is, I need to consider fuel or as well as food for the astronaut, because I'll be in orbit for, I believe, almost 12 days. What I decided to do here is modify the design. I don't need the material bay, really, but I am going to load in the one instrument package. I got a contract to do that around orbit. And then I'm going to actually unlock this Keys Payload Center, because I picked up some contract to do some orbit, or I want to do some additional science experiments, so I get a larger science return for this mission. So here I'm just going to load up a couple of the science instrument package, as well as at this point I decided in order to mount this platform on the side of the rocket after it's in orbit, I'm going to need to take an engineer, which means this is Bill's mission, because he's my only engineer at this point. So at this point I'm just loading up on the different instrument package, making sure I have the wrench and everything I need to do these additional science. And this is a good way, since I'm going to be there for 12 days, I'll be I'll be able to do these instruments in parallel. That way when I return, give me some additional additional science. And it looks like I'll be able to only fly 2 instrument package that fits in that little container. And since I got an engineer, I'm going to need to update this rocket here to put a probe core so I can remotely control it. Since I won't have any SAS since the engineer put the solar arrays back on, and go ahead and I need to add some batteries. So I'm going to use these 300 watt batteries that come with the Pro Plus mod. They're kind of streamlined, and 300s for this early in the game is actually pretty decent for their size. And then finally, I remembered I'm going to need to add some food, since we'll be up there for 12 days. Alright, so the updated Mercury is, looks like it's all ready. Just checking the staging one more time. And at this point, this is where I started to get a little fancy. I figured I had this mod that I've been using for a while. I never really used it much, but these aviation light mods, I figured I'd just throw some of these on, just think some of the modes. You can do strobe, navigation, beacon, different color lights. I think it just adds a cool effect to your rockets and probes. Alright, with everything finally fixed and tweaked, it's going to take me about 4 days to build this rocket. This again will be a rocket that's designed for Bill, since he is my only engineer at this point. I'm going to do a quick save and check out what's in the queue for Kerbal construction time. Continue to warp and unlock heavy rocketry. Fully research that tech node. Alright, so one of the other contracts I picked up, and this is just really to make money, is to do some ionization scan around Kerbin. I've done this mission at least once, maybe twice before. This is pretty much the same rocket and probe that I used. Has enough delta V to get to orbit, at least low Earth in orbit. Has an ionization chamber, and also has some of the other instruments that I've unlocked. So I'm just going to quickly go through this and to collect the funds. This is pretty these missions are pretty straightforward and easy, and has a decent amount of return because this rocket here is pretty inexpensive to build. And in case you were wondering, but some of the times the user interface would disappear. That's just me getting rid of that, taking some screen snaps. Every so often, I still amazed by some of the views in this game, and I like to remember, and as well as remember some of the probes and rockets that I built in the different playthroughs, just as a reminder of what I've done in the past. So I just wanted, that's when you see the user interface flashing and disappearing. That's most likely that's due to me trying to take a screen snap. All right, so here with the rocket reaching our apoapse around 90, so I'm just going to set up a maneuver node and use the flight computer that comes with remote tech to just circularize our orbit. And we got the fairing separation. Coming up on our final circularization burn. And we got in the main engine started. We're going to do our final burn, circularize and get this probe into Kerbin orbit, and then we'll be able to quickly complete our ionization contract. We got separation, finish up the burn on the probe rocket. Okay, and we got orbit. And now I'm just going to orient to the normal direction in order to try to maximize the array coverage, make sure that the spacecraft body doesn't block any of the arrays coming from the sun. Alright, on this, this always had this problem with this Tier 1 contract. For some reason, I never could get the antenna to register, even though clearly I have a Cometron 16. I found that it's a known area on the forums page, so and, there's no way to complete this with the exception of just going in and to the cheat menu. I figure since I met all the other parameters, and I do have a antenna on my probe, I figure that's not cheating, so I went ahead and just forced that contract to be complete. And so now I'm just waiting for the ionization contract to complete. And contract complete. Again, this is pretty typical. This is, contract. That at least is the second or third one that we've done. And at this point, I just decided I was going to leave the probe and go back to the KSE and warp forward to the launch of the Mercury 2. Now again, this one here, we got Bill, he's our engineer. This is pretty much the same, similar design as the Mercury 1. The only exception is we replace the materials bay with the keys, payload, transport module, as well as adding some some food. On the ascent, we had a failure on one of our control fins. We were unable to fix that remotely, but at this point, we're high enough, and with the gimbals on the engine as well as the other fins, it didn't really cause us too much problems on the ascent. And so Bill, now with the solid rocket boosters separating with the main engine going, getting us to that orbit, we are now pitching forward to pick up our horizontal velocity. And picking up some science along the way. We got an EVA report. Now we're just waiting as we climb towards our apoapsis to do our final burn to insert into Kerbin orbit. And we do our final insertion burn. And with this, Bill will be the second Kerbal into space. Alright, we just got indication that we reached orbit. Bill's all happy about that. He's going to go out on EVA in here using the Kerbal attachment and system. We're going to open up the inventory, equip our wrench, bolt on this keys science platform that we need to place our experiments. Okay, it's attached. And then Go into the keys, storage inventory. We're going to select our first science package and mount it on the experiment platform and start our experiment. Bill's going to get the internal experiment started. Again, this is the one that we need to complete around Kerbin orbit. Just going to speed up some time here until we get our first internal, the D8 science experiment. You can see the time up in the window there, clicking down, just jumping forward so we can pick up some crew reports. We're almost done. We got 0.20 out of 0.21. And now that there's our alert that says it's ready, I'm just going to finalize. Finalize our experiment. And collect that 32 science that we'll gather when we return to Kerbin. And now we just have to wait for the other science experiment, and we'll swap out. And again, this is nothing left really for Bill to do except for just hang out in space for the next 12 days. At this point here, we got an alarm saying we have some reserve power leakage in our probe core. So again, this gives a good opportunity for Bill, and we were fortunate to have an engineer with us on this mission to get out, do an EVA, and see if he can fix this probe core. And of course, Bill, being the handy mechanic he is, was able to fix it and get back in his capsule. So another successful EVA. And while we were out there, we were able to collect the data and store it, which allows us to do additional crew reports. So overall, this has been a very successful mission. We just need to hang out in orbit until we complete. So you can see we have enough food for 18 days, more than enough. And we have a little more than 12 or 11 days left. And we just need to land to complete the launch of the Vostok 2. At this point, let's go back to the Space Center, and we'll just let Bill hang out and do his thing in orbit while we prepare and get ready for the next mission. But that will have to be for the next episode, so this is going to conclude it for this episode. I want to thank you for joining and watching. As always, if you like the video, press like. If you have any comments, please feel free to make them below. Thank you.